A dozen Democratic attorneys general are suing the Trump administration for his wide-scale tariff agenda. In this new lawsuit, they claim that President Trump does not have constitutional authority to impose new tariffs on other countries. We're bringing back our 21 News at 5 legal expert, Matt Mangino, to weigh in on what the president's powers entail and what he does have limits on, potentially in this case. Matt, the states challenging the president say he invoked a wartime law that grants him the power to oversee trade if the U.S. is in a state of emergency. So does the president have broad power under that law to renegotiate trade deals, or are there some limits?
Well, there are some limits, Lindsay, but he does have broad power and he has a lot of discretion in this area. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act was imposed by President Trump on April 2nd. And based on that, he suggests that there's an unequal or uneven trade balance and that it is harmful to the country. And because of that, he has the authority to issue these tariffs. Now, what these 12 attorneys general are suggesting is that you can't sort of act on a whim. An emergency is an emergency. And if you're going to use emergency powers, you have to do it in a consistent manner. What we have from the president is, threatening to impose tariffs, imposing tariffs, pulling back on the tariffs, threatening again to some countries, and then wanting to negotiate with others. So, if there is a real economic emergency in this country because of this unfair trade imbalance, then you can't be, sort of willy-nilly in the way that you do it. You either implement tariffs because they need to be implemented and it's an emergency, or you don't.
And the White House calls this another witch hunt. The attorneys general say the tariffs are hurting the economy. So how far do you think this could go in the courts?
Well, I think it will move forward because, again, it's questionable whether there is an emergency that the president needs to impose this Emergency Powers Act. It's in the same vein as saying that we need to implement the Alien Enemies Act of 1789 to deport people without due process. In both instances, there has to be some threat from outside of the country in order to implement these powers. So what's happening is the Trump administration is testing the limits. They're going to use the Alien Enemies Act or the International Emergency Powers Act until someone tries to stop them. And that's what's going on here with these attorney generals. They're trying to stop the president from doing what they believe are unlawful actions.
Okay, we'll keep following that case. Also, the Trump administration is juggling multiple legal hurdles, including with its immigration efforts and deporting people. The president has called out judges who he's frustrated with. In fact, just this afternoon, FBI Director Kash Patel posted to X about the FBI arresting a Milwaukee County Circuit judge accused of helping an undocumented immigrant avoid getting arrested. Now, the FBI says Judge Hannah Dugan faces 2 charges of obstruction and concealing the individual from getting arrested. So could we see more judges face criminal charges if they work against the Trump administration's goal to deport immigrants?
Lindsay, when I read this account earlier today, I was flabbergasted. I can't believe that the FBI has now resorted to arresting judges who in their work have contact with immigration issues. This is really astonishing, and I think this may be one of the biggest steps toward authoritarianism that I've seen, and that's hard to believe, since January 20 in this country. It's unbelievable to me that the FBI would file charges in a deportation context against a sitting state judge.
And does this hold up in court, or do you think the judge will, not face any charges?
Well, I don't know. The judge had to make a brief appearance today in federal court, and this matter is scheduled for a later proceeding in May. So we're going to see where this leads, but it's frightening at this point.
All right, Matt Mangino, thank you for coming back here on 21 News at 5.